and 70 not-for-profit from the D.E.C Foundation to the Marble Foundation. There's a whole bunch of the Ford Foundation, etc. is all signed up to support on this effort. I did meet earlier with a whole bunch of students. Some of them are from the National Academy Foundation. Most of them are from the National Academy of Finance, correct?
Yes.
Well, we just started the National Academy of Engineering, so I expect that Detroit will get a National Academy of Engineering. Xerox was the founding sponsor there. Math is something that we actually have measured and it does work. So I'm pleased and proud that Detroit has the National Academy of Finance. We track the students, we do longitudinal study, we track their earnings, their job rates, etc., etc. It works. It is something that we want to propagate even more and more. Another program that we're involved in, and I know Detroit is heavily involved in, is FIRST, for Integration, Recognition, in Science and Technology, the Cambridge program. It works, it is trackable, it is supportable, etc., etc. So these are two organizations, two examples of organizations that will try to help change the equation, to try to get, for example, every school in Detroit to have be a math academy school, or every school in Detroit to have first team or teams on them. So, a lot to do, a whole lot to do. Make no mistake about it. We are committed, we Xerox, many other companies, and I'm sure all of you in this room committed to having a world-class economy. That if we want to do that, we have to have a world-class workforce. If we want to do that, we have to have a world-class education system. And it's interesting that I stood up here and didn't spend any time speaking about, or a lot of time about Xerox's products and services, or selling you on anything, or asking you to buy everything. That was the sales pitch, just my honest. Because I think that having a group of this type together today in a city that needs the help that Detroit needs, I think the opportunity to speak about education is one that I can't pass up. So if your companies are involved in the education initiative, thank you very much, and kind of scale it up, keep it going, help other companies. And if you're not involved, you should get involved. Either way, I think we have to lengthen our stride and quicken our pace, because the time that we're taking to figure out the right answer is time well under the bridge, and that we're losing to our competition around the world. The young people who are our guests and the rest of the young people around the world deserve better, and one of the things that Xerox will do, these other 100 companies, and I'm sure that you guys will do as well, is to make sure that they have a better chance going forward, and we have to move our part and make sure that it works for them. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for listening. And if you're not a Xerox customer, speak to my team here. Xerox customer, thank you so much for the business. We work hard to earn it, and we'll work even harder to keep it. Thank you very much.
Some water there, just been talking for a while. I'm going to start the questions off with one from a student who says, it seems like that young adults who are entering the workforce today have little chance of accomplishment, certainly as great as yours. What would your advice be to us?
But first of all, I say be careful about describing accomplishment in what you see up here on this stage. One of the most accomplished people that I've ever met in my life, and it truly was my mother. And not only was she inspirational, etc., all that stuff is good, she's a great mother, but she was an accomplished person, well-read, a contributor to the societies that she lived in, definitely a great parent. And if we always end up putting ourselves in the body and the image of someone else to define what success means for us and accomplishment means for us, for you, then I think that you'll always lose. So I said earlier to the kids in the room that accomplishment, the definition of success or accomplishment, is finding something that you love and working really hard to do it really well. Hopefully it's legal. So let's get, it's moral, it's legal, it's that kind of stuff, but find something that you love, and if you do that, if you match what I love and do it well, then you'll earn a good living, you'll be happy, you'll be an accomplished person. And I think that's it. As far as, I had as much luck as I did hard work. I had a whole ton of opportunity, and I had a little bit of luck, and then I worked really hard. And I think if you do that, you can get what define your space, not in my body, but in your body. And I think you will find that you can be accomplished as well.
Here's one on the business side. What has Xerox done to become a greener company?
It's a big deal for us. Sustainability is, I love the question, thank you for, hopefully it's a plan for one of my guys including the answer. That's good already. It turns out that sustainability, way before becoming green, became popular. There was this, everybody was green for a while. Oil companies were green, the oil companies were green, et cetera, et cetera. And we stood back and didn't talk a lot about being green. Primarily because we didn't want to get caught up in the hype of what to do before we said what to do before we said. So I'll give you some examples. Printing on two sides of the paper seems like a really simple, straightforward feature now. It turns out that we invented that feature, and the way that we got there was that we had engineers who kept looking at the back side of the paper saying, it's pretty good, why aren't we using that? Clean, etc. So that's one thing. Putting many things into one space, multifunction devices. But before, if you wanted to print, you had to have a printer. If you wanted to copy, you had to have a copier. You had to have all of these things all over your office. And we invented multifunction devices. We also invented manufacturing. So a large number of our large machines are not built new from all new parts. The federal government for a while would not buy them unless they were all new. We had to teach them that they were being not clean. So now we got that fixed. We invented manufacturing. We just launched a product called the Color Cube, 9,000 founding. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. The second Xerox ad, I'm sorry. And it is a product that actually creates 90% less solid waste, uses 19% recycled less energy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The reason why we did it started out as a technology thing in the lab. The reason why we did it is there was a huge push on most bids to have a sustainable solution. People didn't want to actually they had all kinds of waste amount limitations, and we worked really hard in our labs to try to figure out some solutions in that sense. How green are we? How passionate are we about it? It's part of our DNA, primarily because we're cheap. It started out because we were cheap. Now it's because it's a good thing to do, and we're pretty good at it.
You clearly set out to change the culture of Xerox. Can you talk about what some of the keys to your success were, and how do you maintain that cultural change?
First of all, we have a great culture. Xerox has a great culture, and the culture for me is our people. And so you can't change. Changing the culture either means that you give everybody a frontal lobotomy, or you get a whole bunch of people in. So I don't want to change the whole culture, a whole bunch of new people in. I want to change the whole culture. It's generally good, actually very good, and it's held us in great stead, and it's allowed us to innovate, to be community-minded, to do all the things that make a place to work a good place. But there are a couple of things that actually got a little bit out of hand at Xerox through the crisis. They were good during the crisis, but we have to change them when you're out. When you're in a crisis, you need a leader who is extremely maternal, who can shoulder all of the mess and have you focus and march on whatever the hill. And during 2000 to about 2006 or 7, we needed that really hard. 2005, we needed that significantly. We needed to settle down the employees. We needed to give them a message that they could understand very clearly, and then send them off to do their work. And we became so good at that, and that I think we became not as good at taking risks, at speaking our mind, at carrying some of the leadership weight, not the functional job weight, but the leadership weight that a leadership team should have. And a leadership team is not just 5 guys who sit around the table, who are the CEO. That's not it. If you're leading a team, leading a research team, a group, whatever your expertise and the group of people that you're leading, you have as much information, probably more, than you need to do your job, and you're not actually exercising those brains to actually lead the company. Most of the stuff came up to Ann, and then when I came in, my annual organized self said, my goodness, I can't possibly answer all these questions, primarily because I don't know enough about the specific area to answer them.